Hey, how you guys doing? IVecoX. Yeah, and just kind of do a little series announcement. Um, yeah, I've actually had so many requests for different things that are actually super simple. I know there's videos online on it, but it does seem like people want to have me go through it all. So I did think, you know, some of the questions people ask me are, how do you put, I'll just tell you just to make it simple. How do you make a lever into a button? Things like that. What's the timing differences between buttons, wood and stone? Um, pistons and just basically things that you need to know about redstone, which if you don't know them, it makes it incredibly difficult to do any redstone. Um, so I kind of have an example of what I wanted to show you guys, and that is, in this episode we're just going to cover some super simple stuff, and then I'll increase the level of difficulty as we go. So we're going to be looking at T flip-flops is what we're going to look at, and how they work and all the ins and outs of them, and how you can make them into different kinds of T flip-flops, and how they can be used. And then maybe in the next episode I'll wire up something with you. So let's just look at some of the things you can do with T flip-flops. Because it turns a button into a lever, turns a lever into a button. When I hit this button, it opens the door and it stays open. Then we can go down into our secret whatever and close it behind us, and it's all good. And then do the same when we're leaving. Come back up out of the mine. Now another option is a torch key, which by using a T flip-flop you can actually stick the torch on a torch key, and it's only going to send one impulse or one input to it, and that's it. I myself found that buttons are they're a lot more useful and easier to find than remembering where to put your torch and having to carry a torch. So yeah, anyway, you can of course hook it up to anything. This is just a kind of massive 3x3, but as you can see here, it's kind of acting like a good guy door, except it uses a T flip-flop and you have to hit the button. So let me go ahead and go into spectator mode real quick, and we'll go ahead and look at the circuitry on it. You can see that I have the T flip-flop like really close to it. Then we got our inputs coming from the button down to it. It's kind of hard to see in this. It's actually why I did a wiring diagram over there, and then this one I made really roomy so that I could show you guys how it works. As you can see here, got a turbocharged T flip-flop hooked up to it, and then yeah, and then of course we got the redstone block with a piston here. Although you can't see the piston, that is a piston there. So I'm going to go ahead and go back into creative. Alright, so now that you see what you can do with them, first thing you got to know about this is that pistons actually have timing differences depending on whether they're extended or not, which we'll look at. But first I wanted to show you a question that I've gotten a lot of. It's obviously not, it's something a noob would ask, but I was a noob once. So when we place a repeater down in a tutorial, you'll hear a guy say, 1 tick's delay. That's 1 tick. A repeater by itself is 1 tick, and to show you that, you can see that the right side piston extends slower than the left, and it does the same on the retraction. So hopefully that helps you guys to see that a repeater adds 1 tick of delay, and then you got you got 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's as much delay as you can get, unless you want to add another repeater. So very simple. Another thing we need to know is how much time does a button stay down for when I click this button. If you pause this video and rewind it, like if you were to pause it right now, you'll see that there's exactly 10 ticks of delay. And then this is a wooden button, which gives us 15. And let me go ahead and give you guys a real high-res view of it so you guys can see. And you should be able to count that. But if you don't, just take my word for it, it's 10. So from what I could calculate, pistons actually extend, they take 2 ticks of delay per. So we have a total of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 ticks of delay. So, but when I hit this lever, it takes 12 ticks before it actually extends this piston. But watch what happens when I turn it off. It's instant. And it's because it's a dynamic in the game that when a piston's extended, it retracts quicker, and the one that's pushing, which it doesn't matter if there's a block on it or not, it just extends at 2 ticks delay. So that's how a T flip-flop actually works. If you look, you'll see a gap because each time it toggles, this is being powered at the exact same time by this redstone. So when I hit the button, you'll see a gap because it retracts quicker. So essentially it just changes places as we go, like back and forth. So this is a very reliable, time-tested, and true version of something that will turn a lever into a button. And how that works is, go ahead and fly over here real quick. This one has the inputs and outputs exposed so you guys can see them, and I did them with, for instance, this is a concealed way of getting your signal down with a button on the surface. And when I hit the button, this line comes in and powers this redstone, which turns this torch off and gives me an instant on and off. Well, not instant, but yeah. So that's the next thing we need to look at, is the turbocharged version of a T flip-flop. If you watch when I hit this button, it takes 10 ticks of delay before it actually will hit it. But if we put a torch on it, this is called inverting the signal, that means these are always off. So what ends up happening is when I hit this button, it converts it into an instant back and forth. You still have to wait 10 ticks, but it's after. With this one, you have to wait about 20 ticks because there's that pause in it. So myself, I noticed that old school T flip-flops like this, say I had a door here, like right here, I hit the button, I could actually run through and close it behind me like that, because it's so slow. It gives you 10 ticks to run through it. This one though, it would close in your face. So it's just a lot better, and it doesn't decrease the size of a T flip-flop, which is something I will tell you is kind of massive. Now if you're on the 1.8, you can actually switch this out with a redstone block, and then you don't need this torch. But to save 9 pieces of redstone, it's still easier to use a torch. Just because we have the ability to make things compact doesn't mean we necessarily want to spend the resources on it. So yeah, I hope that explains to you guys, or I can explain a little bit to you guys about it. Just hit the almost 8.5 minute mark. So there's a lot of things you can do with T flip-flops. You can make a little simple door, like say a little exiting. I could hook this up to whatever, a 3x3, a 4x4, whatever I want to, and the input is in there. So some other things we'll be looking at, and of course request anything if you're not sure how it works and you want to know more about it. Feel free to put it in the description. We'll be looking at how hoppers work. For instance, a simple storage system compared to an item sorter. A question I got a long time ago was, this is a signal strength of 15. Yeah, so you can get a signal strength of 15 by filling up anything, whether it's a chest, a hopper, full chest, or half chest. It has to be a full one to give you a signal strength of 15. We'll also be looking at some newer things you can do by converting signals. Like this isn't a monostable, but it is a converter, which is a lot of what we're going to be looking at is the tools you need to actually hook up and wire and make stuff. So this doesn't actually toggle the block, but it does convert a solid signal into a pulse. So if I wanted to activate something over here, for instance, and I only wanted a pulse here, I could do that with this little device. It is kind of expensive, and I will say that a piston with a monostable is a lot cheaper. And there's about 4 different versions of this. You got a regular monostable, you got dual edge, falling edge, and I believe, I think that's it, that's 3. So some of the things we'll be looking at is how do those work. We'll look at new techniques too, which this is a dropper flop, and I'll explain to you guys how that even works. You know? And then we'll look at block adders. So this actually can stack 2 blocks on top, and we'll see when we close it. It adds a block. You can only do this with a monostable, or a 1-tick pulse is what it's called. Now it doesn't mean that it's 1 tick delayed. It means that the pulse is so short that only 1 tick makes it through, which I'll go into. We'll look at hopper clocks, etho clocks. We'll look at Xbox, PS, PlayStation equivalents. This is pretty much as close as you can get to an etho clock right now. Yeah. And then we'll be looking at vertical, horizontal, double piston extenders and how those work too, and how the timings are different if the pistons are stacked straight up or if they're flat, and how things are different like that. They're things you pretty much need to know about Redstone. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Like I said, put in the description if you guys are interested in more of this stuff. If you already know about it, you may not have known how T flip-flops actually work, because there's a 2 ticks difference between extension and retraction. And there's other things I can show you too about hoppers, and how pistons are different up compared to down, vertical compared to horizontal. So yeah, I've been kind of taking a 3-week break, recently, just kind of taking a step back. And I'm probably going to just be doing stuff like this just for another month or 2. In the wintertime, a lot of views go down, everything calms down, not as many people play Minecraft. But yeah, no, I definitely was very upset about the Xbox One's performance, but I do believe they'll patch it. And maybe in the future I will do something on that. But yeah, for right now I'm just going to be, trying to help people to, improve their knowledge of Redstone, so that when they build something, it works, and it works every time. So yeah, I am going to leave a link for a video for somebody. He actually requested and asked me about how do you mark out an area and know that you're not building across a chunk on the Xbox One. So I'm going to leave in the description, there'll be a link to that video, yeah, for you guys. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Comment, like, and subscribe, and have a good one. Later.